romance readers. Welcome to Illicit Liaisons with Tender and Tempting Tales, where each week we discuss the good, the bad, and the naughty of romance fiction. I am Jenna Hart, a romance author of the Southern Heat Contemporary Romance Series and the Sexy Valentine Mystery Series, as well as the managing editor of Tender and Tempting Tales, a steamy romance anthology for readers who like quickies.
Hi, I'm Tara Lederman, social media manager here at Tender and Tending Tales, and lore maven and main fiction writer for Starship Valkyrie, a science fiction game and story universe. I write science fiction stories, including romance, and you can often find me in our anthologies and on Substack.
And today we're very excited to have with us romance author Jason Wrench. Jason he writes a lot. With his publisher, Pride Publishing, now Totally Entwined, he is the author of 3 different series: 12 Days of Murder and Till Death Do Us Wed, Up on the Farm, and the Loved and Liquidated series, and a standalone novella, Wolf Island. As an indie author, he's published Life on the Naughty List. I love that. I'm going to have to read that. Or What the Elf, Jekyll, Hyde, and the Veil. His latest book, Shattering Securities, came out in spring 2025. His day job is a college professor at SUNY New Paltz, where he teaches in the Department of Communication. He's a member of the Romance Writers of America, Rainbow Romance Writers, Text and Academic Authors Association, and the Authors Guild. And even much more exciting than all that, he was in our very first anthology, Moonlight and Margaritas, with his gay enemies to lovers ship happens, which was one of the favorite stories that we had received for the anthology. It's a contemporary story set on a cruise ship. Grab the book, you have to read it. You can find Jason at jasonwrench.com, and his website and anything else we mentioned on the show will be listed in our show notes, so you can click it and go. Jason, thank you so much for being with us today.
I'm glad to be here.
Yes, we're very excited to have you. Now, Tara and I like to talk gossip and, hot takes, the tea, all things bookish in the bookish world. And we always like to have our guests join us in on the discussion. And recently I caught a video in which Heated Rivalry, which is, of course, the big drama going on now in terms of hockey romance, as their fans, the reader fans, Rachel Reed's fans, have been going a little bit after Chelsea Curto for having a hockey face-off image on the cover of Chelsea's book called Face Off, interestingly enough. And I've kind of accused her of plagiarizing the cover idea without, in fact, realizing that Chelsea's book cover had come out before Rachel Reed updated to her new cover that had the face off on it. And it really shows, obviously, how popular Heated Rivalry is. But it also talks a little bit to fans how we really want them to stand up for us and are excited about us, but at the same time can complicate things because poor Chelsea's having to defend herself. And we're just curious, like, your thoughts around this whole issue. And
Well, I'm glad you brought this one up because I have been tracking this one because this is and it's horrible to say, but I find it highly entertaining to watch when these things happen because I'm not involved.
That's why we talk about it on this podcast. Yeah.
So at first you're like, yeah, those look really similar. But then you also start looking at, okay, we know that the original one that came out, Face Off, actually that was started in January, almost a year before the Rachel Reed redesigns came out. And it's also funny because there's another video that I was watching that then was like, and here is a stock photo of 2 players facing off. Oh, look, this is probably what both of the artists were using when they were creating this, which, artists have often used reference images. And it just happened to be that when you think both of them wanted someone at, the center line and looking at each other, there's not too many ways to do that image just by the nature of what both of them were wanting to portray in there. But watching the fans has been interesting because there are definitely some, great fans and there are definitely some rabid fans that have gone a little bit crazy and especially going after people. And this has actually been interesting to also watch the actors in Heated Rivalry having to go have problems with the fans as well. And so there have been times when, the actors on Heated Rivalry have actually had to post on social media being like, the fans, your behavior is inappropriate. We love the fact that you like what we're doing. We love the fact that we have these fans, but how you are treating people is just wrong. And so again, it's always one of those things you want fans, but you can't control fandom. And so sometimes fans just get a little bit out of control. That's usually a very, very, very small minority that tend to be very, very vocal, and it causes things to escalate way beyond anything that they actually should, which is kind of what we've been watching with the covers and with other issues involving Heated Rivalry.
Yeah. Yeah. It is an interesting phenomenon. I think it gets maybe exacerbated because bookish content people will pick it up and talk about it. And
Yeah,
so it spreads even more, right? I mean, here we are talking about it.
the
Somebody
joy
may
of
be
book
like, oh, I
talk.
didn't know. I'm going to have to go. Yeah. But it is at some point, you love to have your fans be so protective of you. But at the same time, yeah, you don't want to hurt people. Poor Chelsea having to defend herself, her artist having to defend herself. But the other part of it is I have not found anywhere where Rachel Reed has said anything about it. And maybe that is well advised. I mean, it's so easy to step in it on the internet, right?
She
So
also may be completely unaware that it's
Yeah,
even
maybe,
happening.
yeah,
possible.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Because when you get to that level, she probably has a team of social media people. I'm seriously doubting that she's doing most of that stuff herself.
right,
So
right.
she may just, between her illness and trying to get the next book out and everything else that's going on, because obviously we'll talk a little bit more about BookCon here in a minute, but she
Yeah,
was at BookCon last weekend. So we know she's out doing things. She's kind of been a busy person this year.
maybe,
And
yeah,
dealing with a lot
yeah,
of fandom herself, right?
Mhm.
She has really rabid fans, and that
Yeah.
can be scary in other ways.
It's kind of like, I don't know about either of you. The first time I published a book, I went and looked at reviews. That was the last time I ever did that.
Don't do that.
I just learned, yeah, if you start looking at all that stuff, you'll start second guessing everything that you're doing, and it's just not worth it. So once you put something out into the world, you have put it out in the world, you now have your readers, and those spaces are for your readers.
exactly.
And I've already moved on to the next project. I may be two projects down the line from when I originally wrote something. So yeah, sometimes it's just best to be blissfully unaware of some of that stuff when it's actually happening.
Yeah. But it is an exciting story for
Yeah.
her, right?
Oh
To
yeah.
because who knows? I remember years and years and years ago, I was talking to an author who's he's a mystery author, and it was at the time Twilight came out and was kind of blowing up everything. And I asked him, like, why that book? I mean, there were other vampire
Mhm.
romances. The same thing with 50 Shades. There had been other highly erotic romance stories. So why those books? And he told me Stardust. You don't know what is going to grab the public's interest. And I feel like Heated Rivalry sort of did that
Mhm.
coming out as the show. I mean, my 80-year-old mother has watched it. Really, she seemed to enjoy it. And it's really taken the world by storm. In a lot of ways, it's good because of all the representation. But I also wonder if Rachel's like, I don't know what happened, Rachel Reed,
Mhm.
but how great, right? Stardust
I mean,
somehow hit that show.
and just watching how that even happened, because I remember when it first came out that Heated Rivalry was actually going to get made into a TV show. There was not that much buzz. I mean, those of us who are in the romance world were like, oh, one of our kind of known books is actually going to be made into a TV show. We'll wait and see what happens. And then you didn't hear anything for a while, and you kind of knew that it was going on up in Canada. And the fact that HBO didn't even bother to pick it up until the month that it started airing, and just obviously that was a pretty good decision on their part at the last minute,
Right.
but it was just, it hit at the right time. But I also go back and think about it, if you look in the queer space, the last time we had something that kind of had this kind of hit was when Queer as Folk came out.
Yeah, a
Yeah.
long time
It
ago.
also was another one that was unapologetically queer, it was unapologetically sexual, and it had no problem showing that stuff. And it showed that then there was an audience. It's just there really hasn't been another one of these until Heated Rivalry.
Yeah. Yeah.
But 20 years of gay baiting.
Yes.
Seriously. That's how I've been feeling.
Very
Well,
true.
okay. Well, you did go to BookCon. Yeah,
Yes.
I heard a little bit about it. I do know one person who went. I saw somewhere where their indie author alley went really well. I did see another video where some people were complaining that some readers were a little bit aggressive. So, what was your experience of it?
So I went Saturday afternoon. I was actually asked to come in and do signings for the Romance Writers of America table. So I was actually there with them. So it was kind of nice because I got to go in and then I got to leave. So whereas the people that were like manning their own tables were there all weekend. I got there on Saturday about 1 o'clock. It was mayhem. I had, I knew that they had sold something like they'd sold out of their 20,000 tickets that they were
Mhm.
planning on having for the weekend. So I kind of knew that it was going to be big, but until you're in the midst of that, you don't grasp how big something like that actually is. And so obviously we were in one of the big marketplace areas and there was just people wall to wall everywhere. And it was a lot of fun to see that there was that many people that were obviously enthusiastic about books of all kinds and getting to actually talk to people at the booth and talking about romance writing in general and signing books. It's kind of fun because there's so much energy in a place like that. But yeah, the indie romance area, it was huge. I've seen a lot of indie authors at various events. This is probably the largest group of indie authors I've ever seen in one place at a time.
Wow.
But yeah, it was because I went down and walked through and I actually knew a couple of the authors, like, oh, hey, it's good to see you. And getting that opportunity to obviously for them to showcase things, but also for them to hopefully find new readers in a way that they wouldn't get to normally. And I think these types of events are good for us. I also think it was great that by the nature of it being in New York City and as large as this was, there was quite a bit of news that came out of BookCon. And so I think it also is good for promoting, just obviously the publishing industry in New York City in general, which in many ways is still the heart of the publishing world in our country. But
Yeah.
it was also fun because here we are on one coast, and then on the other coast, you had the LA Times,
Yeah, Festival of
book.
Books was going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I know we had RWA people out there representing us too. So lots
Yeah.
of stuff going on all one weekend. That's just a
And
lot of books.
and Margaret
There's,
Atwood as well. It was really
Mhm.
cool.
oh yeah. I'm thinking of something as big as that. I'm wondering, did people have wagons to like pull their books?
There
I,
were
I
some
just
people that
some
had
people buy a crap ton of books. Yeah.
There were some people who definitely had their things on wheels as they were going through the marketplace. Technically, they discouraged anything on wheels. That doesn't mean it didn't happen.
Right.
Um,
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
which I understood just because, yeah, after a while, that's just a lot of books to try to carry around. And a lot of publishers were handing out arcs for things that are coming out. So
Oh,
you
cool.
can imagine
Yeah.
those arc lines were very long as people were trying to get those. Yeah, it was interesting to watch, to say the least. And it was also nice. I was glad I was behind a table. It's like I got
Yeah.
to watch as all of it was happening in front of me
Right.
without always being right in the middle of everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What were you
I
signing while you were
do.
there?
Oops.
Go
So,
ahead.
what were you signing while you were there?
I took the first books in most of my series, just because that's easy to do. So I had, obviously I had 12 Days of Murder. I had, what is it? This is horrible when you start forgetting your own names. Finding a Farmer. I had Boy Bands and Bullets. I also had Scintillating Securities. And then I had, obviously, Life on the Naughty List or What the Elf. And of course, my new one that started coming out this spring, Tales from the Crease series. The first book on that is Goalie and the Geek. So those are the six that I had with me that I was signing. And big surprise, Goalie and the Geek was the one that did the best.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I saw the cover for Goalie and the Geek. I really like it. I like that you went with something more photoreal.
Yeah, it was. So the funny thing is I had purchased the cover about a year and a half ago and
Mhm.
just had it sitting on my hard drive.
Nice, good.
So I was like, I know I'm going to write one of these. And I was like, I'll get to it. And obviously, when everything blew up with Heated Rivalry, I was like, oh, the time is now.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Let's do it now.
And
You
so
scheduled your hockey era.
yeah, I was like, we
Yeah.
are going to do this now. And so basically,
Yeah.
starting from December through late March, I did the trilogy that I had for that series and I have, thankfully, my editor, I was able to give them to her. Basically one book every month, and she was able to get them back, and we've been able to get them out every month, which is the
Oh,
first time I've
that's
ever done
amazing.
rapid release, and gosh, that makes you tired.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it sounds exhausting. Yeah.
That sounds yeah, yeah. But nice that you were able to schedule your editor so that they could meet that as well, because that's the
Hmm.
other part. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
incredible.
I'm a big
Oh,
fan of events too.
mm,
I love going to them and meeting other writers, meeting the readers, and you're right, there's an energy. You leave there wanting to write. If
Hmm.
if you've been tired of it and now you want to go home and write. I always end up buying books. And a
And at
lot of
least
times they sit on my shelf for a while because I'm having a hard time getting to the.
I can at least say I left with fewer books than I arrived with.
Well, that's good. That's
nicely
good.
done.
That means you sold some.
That's not to say I didn't replace a couple, but
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's exciting. Yeah.
And Jason, I'm so excited you're here. Like we talked a lot on the show about AI recently and
Mhm.
its impact on publishing and authors, and we talked a bit about the academic and teaching side of it. And I know you're also a teacher and academic, and I know you co-wrote a book about AI literacy, The Future Is
Yes.
Now. And so I was hoping you could talk a bit about that book and your views on AI's impacts on publishing and on indie authors. And I'm sure it's also affecting teaching where you're at as well.
No, not at all. AI
No,
not impacting higher education
no,
in the
nothing,
least.
nothing at all. Everyone's
Well,
just writing in their blue books.
yeah. There's actually been conversations about going back to the Blue Book in some circles because the reality is AI kind of took us a little bit by storm. I remember many years ago now, I actually had the opportunity to play around with GPT 2.0 back when it wasn't much, but I was like, oh, look, there's this thing that can write. And from one sentence to the next, it made zero sense.
Hmm.
And it's like, oh, that's fun. It can actually write a sentence. Good for it. So I wasn't concerned and it didn't really think about it. And then, of course, ChatGPT came out at, with, what was it, 3.5. And suddenly you're like, oh, everything just changed. And you had to rethink everything. I was actually had just signed a textbook contract to write a business and professional communication textbook. And I was literally, ChatGPT comes out. I'm sitting with my editor going, we have to reapproach everything now because this technology is going to just revamp what this field is and how things are done.
Yeah.
And just to watch how everything has changed so rapidly and how it has improved. And I remember like the early days of like image generators where everything looked like Picasso.
Oh
Uh,
God, yeah, for Sora one.
and it was fun because,
Yeah.
so those lips are three times the size of the rest of the head. Who cares? And then to watch, now almost all that stuff is photorealistic. And, in this week alone, OpenAI released their new image generator, which for the first time, I'm actually seeing text actually done well in an image and done a lot of text and images. The fact that it can now do infographics that actually make sense.
Mm.
So we can't pretend that this isn't happening. So my friend Sine and I actually originally started off, we edited a book on generative AI in the communication classroom. And it was kind of when we were doing that both of us were like, we are gonna have to start talking about this in larger respects as a society. I think a lot of people were aware that the AI world was coming, but they didn't necessarily know what that meant. And for it to hit as fast and as hard as it has, that, the idea that, we've talked about computer literacy, we've talked about information literacy and media literacy. People now need to have artificial intelligence literacy to understand what this technology can do, what it can't do, what it should never do. It should never be your therapist. And yet we
Mm.
know people are constantly talking to them as if it is. That is a
Yeah.
horrible, horrible idea. And yet we're seeing it. But a lot of that is because people don't understand what they don't know about this technology.
Yeah.
And so we just became really involved in that world. And, yeah, we've wrote our second book and came out this year on obviously looking at AI literacy as a broader thing, everything from generative AI to thinking about AI in the future, but also, some of the darker applications of artificial intelligence.
Mhm.
And, some of those conversations have come up this spring with, people talking about, should we have autonomous weaponry? What about the AI surveillance state? And
Mm.
for us, these are like, yeah, these are things we've been talking about and looking at for a few years, but the public is, starting to catch up. In the
Yeah.
publishing world, well, I'm going to shame one person. Feel free to edit this out. Their name is Barrett Williams. And if you Google that name on Amazon, you'll find over 5,000 books that this person has written.
Dear God.
Yeah, and all of them have also been turned into those fake little audiobooks for Audible as well.
Mm,
Uh,
Boo.
That there is the proliferation of what we call AI slop,
yeah.
where it's these fast written books. Half the time, they're probably never been read by the person whose name has been thrown on the cover.
Half the time. Half the time.
I'm being generous.
I don't think any person if they actually read through some of the slop they send to these places, I think that they would be embarrassed. Oh, we were
Yeah,
impressed. We receive AI slop, and there's just moments of sort of like,
yeah.
you sent this to us?
Mhm. And the more you look at AI output, the more you realize what some of that stuff looks like. And it becomes
Mm,
more apparent when you're looking at it and going, this person either just didn't know what good writing looks like, which craft is still actually important, or they just didn't bother to look at it in the first place. And so I do think that that proliferation of just so much stuff is a problem. I wish that some of the larger, sellers like Amazon did a better job
mm,
of policing some of that slop that's getting out there. But of course, they're just interested in making money, not necessarily ensuring that there's the quality of a lot of that stuff. They always say that they're interested in that. But, when you watch some of these, little, I don't know if you want to call them publishing houses because that's not really what they are, but they're just putting out content. You can tell it's not about the quality of it. And so I do think it is one of those things we have seen a lot of people across the spectrum are using this technology for a wide range of different reasons. I think some people, it's also been interesting, you have a lot of people who are like, they are verbally anti-AI, yet when you actually talk to them and you know them, they're like, yeah, you know that they're using it because it does simplify
God.
things. Like my
Mm.
favorite thing, I admit that I've done this where I've written the email that I wanted to write, and then I've gone to ChatGPT and been like, please rewrite this so that it sounds professional. Get
Mm.
rid of all those four-letter words that I included. That should not
Would
be
you
there.
help me tone this down? Yeah.
Jason,
Sometimes
you're
it's
losing your
cathartic.
voice. The purity of your rage.
Yeah.
Why would you tone it down?
Yeah.
Like, oh, so your 18th grandparent has died this semester. I'm sorry to hear that. And so, there are, those things, but also it's just become more and more integrated. At first, people are like, oh, they're going to avoid it. And then I was like, yeah, good luck on that because it's going to be in every other piece of software that you own before long. And
Yeah.
sure enough, 6 months later, here comes Microsoft. And, the very first thing you get is like a Clippy on steroids at the top going, what do you want to write today?
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
And I think there are promises with the technology. There's obviously a lot of ethical issues. There's a lot of decisions that have to be made. And the technology is going at a much faster rate than a lot of us can keep up with just having basic conversations about.
Yeah. Amazon needs to get on top of it on the platform because people are struggling to find like author written stuff and they want it. And so,
Mhm.
I mean, I don't know how they're going to do that, if they need to badge authors or what, but I do think they need to create a way for people to sort. And I do think they know it's affecting the platform. That's
Mhm.
the one thing that where I have some hope there is that like I don't think Amazon wants to be flooded to this degree with material and make it difficult for people on KU to even find what they want to read.
From a pure profit perspective, you'd go, this
Yeah.
is your compute. Somewhere this you're paying for this, even if it's just the conversion of all of these fake books to Audible files.
Hmm.
That's your compute that you're paying for. So that there's should be a price incentive for them to not have all of this. But apparently, as of right now, it looks like the profit margin for them is good enough that it's not been something they've been overly worried about. But then you have something like Draft to Digital, which is a company I have been using for my indie stuff, just because I love to be able to upload it to one place and they push it out to everyone and I don't have to worry about it.
Yep.
Yeah.
And they've gone to this now, what is it? It's only $2 a month for the entire year basically, and you have the ability to use their platform, but and then it'll be like a one-time $20 fee as a way of they're hoping to try to decrease the amount of slop that's going through their system.
Some
uh,
barrier to entry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think if you make $100,
yeah.
then you don't have that $12 fee or whatever it
Yeah.
is that they're, yeah. Yeah. Amazon does now have a limit to what you can upload, but I think it's like 100 or 200, like a day or, something like that. Like it's something crazy.
Mhm.
Could be a month, week. I don't remember. Um,
And you
but
go, there's no
I
real
also
person.
think because I pay attention to a lot of this. I know there's a lot of courses out there that were teaching people who wanted to get into publishing. They would hire ghostwriters. Now they're teaching them to use AI. We know the AI is improving, and we know some people can massage it, either the prompt or they know craft enough to edit. And I think it will be very difficult for places like Amazon, Draft Digital, all of them to know if it's not self-reported, and readers may not know.
Mhm.
Readers right now could love books they think are human written that aren't.
Right.
And in my mind, I'm like, you talked about the technology going, it's going to continue to go. It's always ahead of where we are in terms of thinking about its impact, right? Like we're always sort of chasing it. And in my mind, like it's there. I'm going to compete with it. And that's just it is what it is. I think it's just going to continue to be used in the publishing world. It's a little pet peeve of mine that publishers are openly using AI for lots of things, including feeding manuscripts in to vet them, feeding manuscripts in to summarize them for
Mhm.
marketing or whatever. But the author that uses it, no, 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 you're the worst person in the whole world to ever have lived for using AI to write, right? And that's the attitude out there,
It
right?
has been funny when you have these publishers like, we will never accept AI. And yet it's like, oh, yeah, but our marketing department
Mhm.
is all about using it right now because it saves a lot of money for us.
Exactly, because it's a tool. So, but my other pet peeve has been, especially last year when it was really starting to ramp up, and all these people are like, AI is the worst thing in the world. Blah, 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 blah. And I'd say, well, I dictate and I use an AI to transcribe. Well, that's not what I mean. And I'm like, you're a writer. Say what you mean. You're
Mhm.
talking about a very specific type of AI that you are against, which is generative, right? They don't like AI. I always worry because so many people that come into the writing space, there's a lot they don't know. So if they come across somebody who's saying AI is bad, and all of a sudden they notice in Grammarly or Pro Writing Aid, there's an AI tool that will switch a sentence from passive to active, right? Or whatever it is. Are they going to think, oh, now I can't be a writer? If they're dictating because they can't type, that's AI. Are they going to think, oh, now I can't be a writer because AI, air quotes, is bad? So I worry about that. So I'm like, be clear. What you think about AI is bad and recognize you're using it every time you talk to Siri or Google or whatever, right? It is everywhere in our lives beyond just asking chat a question.
People need
As
more
a,
no knowledge and nuance in the conversation. A lot of them don't
Yeah.
know how much AI tools are out there and are used for other things. I mean,
Mhm.
when I use Canva Pro, there's a tool in there that removes background that does use
Yeah.
AI, but I
Mhm.
don't generate our marketing graphics just using AI because I think they're ugly and it's not a good opportunity for us to express what it is we're doing because our visual style will not be there. It's a nice opportunity for us to express ourselves as well. But yeah, like a tool that removes background for me, something that I could do in Photoshop, but it would take me a long time, is very useful. It's a helpful tool for me.
That new layer tool they have in Canva
Yeah, magic
Pro,
layers.
oh
Yeah, it's
my
really
God,
helpful. Yeah.
that has been a game changer. Like, I do not want this in this photo.
Yeah,
See, and
identifying
it
layers,
just
very,
separates
very
the
helpful.
layer and out it goes.
Yeah.
Oh, I
Really,
Way
love
this
it.
better
is
than the previous editor where you would like paint things that you needed to
That,
remove.
yeah, yeah.
I
And
got very good
sometimes
at
you
that.
had to do it a couple times because it
Yeah.
wouldn't always disappear, right? There's like a hint of it, a ghost, a
Yes,
ghost.
I've had so many ghosts of things that
Yeah.
I've had to remove. But yeah, magic layers is very, very helpful and it
Yeah.
does just speed things up, but it doesn't mean that, I'm not
Yeah.
I'm not generating or marketing graphics. I like to
but
express myself through
I
that.
will say, as an author, I still prefer working with graphic designers for
Yeah.
book
Yeah.
covers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a lot of it is I think it's really easy for the most part at this point still to spot a lot of the AI generated book covers.
Oh my
Yeah.
God, yeah. Yeah.
They have a look. And for me, it's like, I kind of work with graphic designers in one of two ways. One, I have a book and I'm looking for the cover, or I see the cover and I'm like, I want to tell that story.
Yeah.
And
I love that.
I may hoard covers.
Forward covers. You've got like a little trove of covers
I
back
used to
there.
do that with domain names. Never thought about doing it with a cover though.
Oh yeah. I have some friends. I'm like, I will bequeath my covers to you.
Oh my gosh.
I
Now
hope
I
you have
want
that
to
in your
go look
will.
at
Who gets all your
covers.
covers?
I'm going to add that. How to find ideas, what to write. Go look at stock book covers.
Because and there's so many talented artists that are out there that are trying to make a living. And I'm like, if
Yeah.
I'm in a position, I can help those people do that. And it gives me inspiration too. And that's why, when I was working on Goldie and the Geek, I had that cover sitting around. It was just waiting.
Yeah.
And then I had another one that I worked with who had two hockey covers that he had just came out. And I was like, oh, look, we have a trilogy.
Yeah.
And put
Yeah.
them all together.
That's
And
great.
so now I'm looking at the other sports books that I figure I'll just have a series of sport and then be done with it.
I now make our covers actually. And the fun thing about that is being inspired by the books, by the stories that are in the books and using that. Like in Pause and Peril, we had a cover originally, and then when we read the stories, it was like, well, actually, and then we made the cover to sort of look like to be inspired by the stories that we had done. We had a cute little spider and stuff, and added like a dog that actually looked like the dog from Jenna's story. So I thought that was much more enjoyable than having some random person make us a cover, I thought that was way better. And also just we know that there's no one using AI to make the cover because I did it, there's like it's kind of safer that way in some ways.
You are writing hockey romance too, and obviously it's been a thing because heated rivalry's been so big. We've talked to other authors who have written hockey romance, and you were rapid releasing, which is no easy feat on
No.
because a lot of it's more than just writing, right? There's a lot of stuff that goes into it. But we would just like to know more about, I guess was this a cover that you saw and you got the idea, or
I owned the cover before, and I even had the title,
that's right,
Goldie
you
and the
said
Geek,
that.
before
Yeah.
I started writing it. It was,
I love that.
I kind of, knew from the base of the cover that it was probably in the new adult area, just because it was not clearly it was not designed as a steamy romance cover. And so for me, half of it is, okay, you have these two people. You have one guy who's obviously what I call the geek, and the other guy is clearly the hockey player. It's like, well, what is their story? And that's always the thing that I love about writing is we're storytellers. And sometimes it's like, okay, I have a picture, but what's the story that goes with that picture? What's going on behind us? And figuring out what that narrative was. And again, so I'd had the cover, had it sitting around, had the title, and I just decided, obviously, when Heated Rivalry hit, I was like, oh, I should have already been working on this. Because in the back of my head, oh, I will get to that one later. So I knew I was going to go down that route. I just hadn't done it yet. And then when it came out, I was like, okay, if you're going to get while the getting is good. And so I was like, kind of in the position to be able to start working on this rapidly. And so then again, I had the first cover. Another graphic designer that I work with had another one, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna get that one. And he's like, oh yeah, I have this other one that I'm like, oh well, there we go. We got three now. We're good. And then so basically from started working on that in early December, and I finished the last one up in March and got it to my editor so that we could have it out by the end of this month.
So it's a book a month, right?
Yeah. I mean, I can write when I sit down and draft, the fastest I've ever drafted was about an 80,000 word novel in about 13 days.
Good God.
Holy crap. I thought I was fast.
Jesus Christ.
I'm not that fast.
And I'm a plotter, so I know where the story's going.
Yeah.
Pretty much from the beginning. So that to me helps write fast because I'm not sitting making a lot of those editorial decisions while I'm writing. I'm like, nope. And if something tries to get in the way, I'm like, that is not what I told you you're going to do. When you're writing fast, you don't have a choice.
Were you teaching at the time?
Yeah. Well,
oh my God.
But I had Christmas vacation in there, so that helped.
Okay. So it was over Christmas break. Gotcha. So it wasn't
I'm single and I only have two dogs. That also helps.
I was thinking maybe you got snowed in and there was nothing else to do.
Well, there was a lot of snow in January and February. So that definitely helped.
Do you dictate or anything like that, or you just type?
I'm a typist. I will say, though, I go back typing wise to the good old days of internet relay chat rooms. And when you had to be very, very fast, because that was the only way you kept up with what the conversation was in the rooms.
Oh,
And
you
so
mean like the old posing RP?
So you're
yeah,
Oh my
fast.
gosh, I used to do
Yeah.
that in high school.
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that taught me just to be a really fast typist. And
Mhm.
combine that with all of the academic work that I've done over the years, writing fast and getting things done, especially on a deadline, is just ingrained in me. And
Yeah.
so making the switch from academic writing to fiction writing is obviously a lot more enjoyable because I don't have to cite anything.
Hell yes.
But, it's the same skill set. It's a little bit different, but it's still, a lot of the basic things.
I could only go that fast if I were dictating. Even then, 80,000 in 13 days would be,
And I don't know how you dictate because I've tried that and I would sit there. No, Millie, I haven't tried recently. I tried back in the good old days of Dragon Dictate. So
yeah.
that did
Well,
not
like
go.
all AI, it's improved, right? Like,
It's kind of a vision of hell. I tried it when I had eye surgery and just staring at the screen while it was
Ooh.
trying to pick. You could just see me just being sort of like, no, no, go back. I can't stand this anymore. I hate this. And then like I just turn
yeah,
like
well,
that's all in the text. I can't
Yeah.
handle it.
well, let me tell you, I do not dictate sitting at my screen because you're watching it
Hmm.
go by and there's a delay. You feel, oh, I'm talking too fast for you. So I actually go for a walk. I take my handy dandy little recorder and I dictate into that. And then I use Dragon and I bought it before a lot of the Otter and all these other AI tools were out there. I bought the expensive form of Dragon that had the transcribe. And so it would transcribe and then I revise from that. It messes up more because how it's going from a recording and transcribing, and I don't always enunciate right, or I speak too fast or something like that. Usually, if it's gone wonky, it's my fault. It's the problem's my end. But and I only did it, I thought it was weird too, but I did it because I started developing a repetitive strain injury.
Ooh.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was ghostwriting for two people at the time,
Oh, wow.
and they were rapid release, so it was a lot. And I found when I finally figured out the rhythm of it and how to do it and made the adjustment, it's way fast
Now, I
compared.
will say I have had both of my carpal tunnels done.
Yes, yeah.
So, best surgery I ever had.
Yeah.
My sister just had that, yeah.
Yeah. I
So
had radial tunnel after my sister's wedding, and that affected me for a few years. When I did
Oh, wow.
NaNoWriMo in like 2019, I
yeah.
remember I had horrible wrist strain and I was like typing in a brace and stuff like that. It's gotten better since then. I guess, I mean, I guess the most I've written in a day would be 13,000 words. So I guess I could probably do what you just described,
But
but
it hurts.
it's
That
hurt.
many
It hurts.
words.
Yeah.
You
If
have
you
to
get
be
over
focused.
10,000 in a day, just typing.
Mhm.
Dictation is a little bit different.
Yeah.
Typing, I mean, in my mind is mush when you hit about 10,000 words in a day.
And
After
it's
that,
funny.
it's just like nothing else can happen.
Yeah.
There's a wonderful author. She's in the cozy mystery world. Her name is Amanda M. Lee. She has, I think, three different pen names that she publishes under, and she publishes 2 to 3 books a month.
Good Lord.
And she was a former journalist. She
Oh,
Mhm.
was used to mass amounts of writing, mass amounts of editing, and
yeah.
this is her job. She wakes up in the morning, she writes, however many words she has to get written that day. She edits another 6 to 9,000, and it's just her job.
Yeah.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
so, I think especially when you develop certain writing skills and you just focus on that, it is possible. It's not necessarily the most fun, but
Yeah.
you get it done.
I think
Yeah.
my issue is that my job is primarily a bunch of stuff at the press, so I those end up taking up not just time but brain space.
Mhm.
Like I
Yeah.
gotta send an email to the authors.
Yeah.
I've got to make these graphics, and that takes up creative energy as well.
I have
So
my
writing sometimes take a back
fourth
seat.
hockey romance that I've been working on for over a month now.
Mm.
And it's going much, much slower. This is my straight. So I have my romance that I write for my fans, and then I have the stuff that I write for my mom. This would be more of my mom category.
For my mom category.
What does that mean? No spice or something? Is
No
that
spice.
the? Yeah. Yeah.
Fade completely to black.
Yeah. I
Two
think
chili
it would
peppers.
be fun to be able to publish two versions of your book. Like
Mm.
here's the spice and here's the not spice. Amazon would probably terminate your thing because you're plagiarizing yourself, right? But it would be fun to have two versions of the same book, but one is spicy and one isn't.
Which
Wouldn't it be good to be able to
spices?
toggle it on and off, right? Like you just like hit the spice
Yeah,
button and then it just the spice
yeah,
unfurls, or you can hide it. right?
Yeah.
Spice, no
Well,
spice.
Let's face it, there are some books that when you're reading them, it's like the plot is only there to get you from one spice to the
one
next.
Oh,
spice
that's
to the
true. Yes,
next.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
no,
you're
I
just
like
like,
Neon Gods would not work with a no spice.
Yeah. Yeah.
It'd just be
Yeah.
like 2 pages.
You could just put a little chili pepper next to, here's where it's not, here's where you
Arts.
can skip forward. Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh, that's funny.
Which is always one of those interesting things when you start writing, obviously romance, whether you venture into the world of erotica is a whole other thing, but figuring out where especially sex fits in and how that works. And
Yeah.
I'm a big believer that it needs to fit into the narrative and it should help
Mhm.
propel the story forward. I,
Advance the
I,
characters and their relationship.
I
Yeah.
hate it when you're like, read plot, 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 plot. Let's have a 20-page sex scene. Plot, 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 plot.
Yeah.
Like, when you can
Yeah.
take the sex scene out and it doesn't change the story,
Yeah.
what are we doing?
Yeah.
It's very like knock knock, sexagram. We're like, oh, I guess it's sex time. All right, I guess I'm reading that.
When
I,
I
well,
was ghostwriting, my client is one of the spicy ones. She wants 6 to 8 spicy bits in an
Oh, wow.
80,000 word. It's quite a bit. And a lot of the time she sends me the plots.
mhm,
And I go through some of them I rip out because I'm just like, this is weird. But I'll add something in later
mhm,
to kind of make up for what I'm taking out. But when I'm doing plotting for myself, plotting for her, when there's so many, or even myself, I don't have that many. I do try to have reason this is happening here and now,
mhm,
right? Even if they're not in love yet per se, there's something shifting. There's something going on when I'm plotting. It is sort of plotting those bits,
mhm.
that they have their own little arc
Yeah.
in their stories,
Oh, it
right?
does when she sends you the plot, does it say, and here's a sexy bit?
Yes.
It does.
Well,
Oh
or
my gosh.
yeah, they don't tell me. They sometimes it'll tell me, oh, it's in the shower or it's
Mm,
this or that. Sometimes there is a direction there. Sometimes there isn't. Sometimes they will say the mood of it or if it's ultra kinky or something like that. My point is that I
I asked.
agree that those bits are like any other action scene. If you had a violent fight scene
yeah.
or, anything that's going on, the spicy bits should have a reason for being there. At the same time, there's readers who just love that stuff, right? Like they don't care. So it depends who your reader is and how much some people would think, oh, 8 spicy bits, that's too much. And other people are like, I want more. So
One of my
Yeah.
favorite writing stories, I was working with my editor, and it was the first time. So the first two books I wrote, 12 Days of Murder, Until Death Do Us Wed, that was really more romantic suspense, good body count because it's
yeah,
romantic suspense and not
yeah,
a body count in a sexy way. It was
right,
let's
right.
I mean with a name like 12 Days of Murder, you know what you're getting.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
then I was like, I'm going to write more. I'm going to see if I can do a traditional romance, which is where I got the Up on the Farm series. And so it was my first time really writing sex scenes. And I remember her coming back going, I think you have too many arms in
The
here.
art.
Yes, yeah,
Oh no.
And she goes, you need to work on your choreography.
yeah,
And so that's what all of my friends, we refer to it as the choreography.
yeah, yeah.
Thing you need a
But
beta reader
I'm
for. Too
convinced
many
that some
arms.
of the best spicy bits have very little choreography or very little what I call tabby and slade type things. Like, it's a lot of sensation, a lot of emotion, a lot, maybe some thought, and less the mechanics, I think, are some of the best spicy bits I've ever read. Is that? I mean, you have to have a little bit, obviously, to make a living writing spices.
Jenna does it. Jenna can do it. So can you. So,
So, I do want to ask you something if I can cut
yeah,
in
go for it.
because I remember I follow you on Facebook and this was Heated Rivalry. It was taking off. So it was a couple months ago and you had a post there. And I can't remember exactly what it said, but I walked away thinking because we know that a lot of women now are writing gay men romance and of course the hockey and the
Mhm.
and the comment I walked away with thinking they're doing something wrong.
Mhm.
I mean, it wasn't like a bad comment or anything, but I walked away thinking he's saying that they are doing, there's something that they're missing. And I was just curious what that was.
Oh, okay, well, MM romance is interesting just because when you look at the history of MM romance, it was predominantly written from the beginning by cisgendered straight women. It is all it which again, there's actually a wonderful documentary that came out several years ago that focused on MM romance, and it kind of talked a little bit about the history and the reality that it's always been an interesting female space. That you have had more and more actual gay men that are entering into this space over the years. And some of the things that I see wrong with a lot of the MM romance is, especially with some of the stuff that we were talking about earlier, where it literally is like no plot and it's just all about the sex. And you go, yeah, gay men's lives are well, way more convoluted than just that. But at the same time, I'm like, there are some times I'm like, oh, they have all this romance stuff that I'm like, yeah, it doesn't always work that way either. And realizing that, like today, I don't see nearly as much like in the romance that I read of how many of them are going onto their cell phone, looking on Grindr or Scruff or any of the other dating sites and going, oh, this person's 3 miles away from me. Okay, might as well. And that happens. That is a reality that happens. And it doesn't even, you have a lot of open relationships, which I'm not seeing as many of those types of relationships depicted. And so I think sometimes, it's like with any actual relationships, they're messier than sometimes they really look on the page. And so I do think sometimes some of the MM romance I look at, I'm like, it does not resemble what I actually know exists in the gay community. But I had one time where I had again a different editor who was like, "Oh, that doesn't work," and I'm like, "Oh, I can guarantee you that works. I know this happens.
Right.
I
Yeah.
realize you may not be reading or seeing the same things, but yes,
Wow.
this very much does work."
Yeah.
And that is sometimes the difference between, writing from a lived experience versus writing from a fantasy experience. At the same time, though, I do write, both. Most of my stuff is in the romance world, but I do write straight romance. I've never been a straight woman, and yet both of my books are written from a cisgender straight woman's perspective. And for me, I'm always like, I write them as people. They're just happen to be females, and I think strong, powerful female leads are just way more interesting to me in that
Yeah.
respect. And
Yeah.
so to me, it's, you approach anything, you want to approach it from an authenticity place, and you want to do the right by the characters.
Yeah.
I've
Yeah.
been wondering about this for a long time, since I was like 15, actually, because I've been in fandom
Mhm.
spaces where MM relationships between couples were a big deal. And I knew a lot of female writers who wrote this, and yeah, a lot of us in my group are bisexual women, and we would talk to each other. It's like, why is it so compelling to us to want to see this male character with this other male character? And some of it, I think, is that like in those stories, the protagonist is male, so like that's the character who's like your vessel character,
Mhm.
and you then like as like if you're a straight woman, the male characters are maybe more interesting, and so you want to see them. So in fandom spaces, that was always I was always curious about that. But I find it so strange how many straight cis women are writing MM like original romance, and how many of them are in that space. And how many of them are like writing about MM sex without having that experience. That's very, very odd to me. Like I understand wanting to explore the energy of in a fandom, like, oh my God, Sirius and Remus, like in Harry Potter. I get why women were really interested in that 20 years ago. It's a little stranger to me to then take that to the original universe when you don't have that lived experience. I've always tried to figure it out, especially if you're not in that community, you don't know a lot of gay men, you don't know a lot about it. That's
Well, I
always.
was about to say you would have to have someone you knew, or at least a reader for you. I mean, because I wrote hockey for my client. I never played hockey.
True,
I've
yes.
been to one hockey game,
Mhm.
well, maybe more than one, but I've written about a lot of things I don't know. You do your research,
Yeah.
but whenever we're talking about people living lives that I would never have, whether it's in the LGBTQ community, whether it's a different race from me, whatever it is, or you have to do your due diligence so you don't offend
Mhm.
even by accident, or slip into stereotypes.
My
And
point is not that they
sometimes,
can't. I think that it's great to
Yeah,
write from perspectives that are not your own. I think that's wonderful.
yeah,
I think that writers
yeah.
have to do that, right? You can't just write from your own experience.
Right.
What I'm
Yeah.
asking really is more like, why is it so compelling? I think there
Yeah.
are reasons why it's so compelling. I just want to get at them. I think as my academic brain is like, why is this so interesting to women? I think it might be because an MM relationship feels to us, those of us who've been in relationships with men, like a different kind of relationship with men than a a kind of compet relationship of a woman with a man, right?
we
Like
don't
Yeah.
to
come
be more
into it
equal.
with expectations. because
Right.
there aren't these
Yeah.
societal expectations that have been built
Mhm.
into us from birth about how those relationships are supposed to function.
Hmm.
So there's inherently just a lot more negotiation about the relationship itself.
Hmm.
They're inherently more egalitarian just by, again, the nature of the relationship.
Yeah.
And I think there is that aspect to it, and that is a factor of escapism.
Yeah. Agreed. Yeah. I think that, yeah, the idea of negotiating things out and not entering a relationship and being the woman from the beginning, I think is compelling to a lot of like
Mhm.
cis het women, not only to read it, but to write it.
Which, knowing the
Yeah.
sexism in society, I can understand
Yeah,
that.
I think that's where it comes from.
Yeah.
But then,
Yeah.
but also to like to guard those spaces against gay men is the thing I've also seen, and I think that that's also a problem.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
did see hear something. Was this in that video where these ladies, women, were having a watch party for Heated Rivalry, and I guess some of their gay men friends showed up and they kicked them out
It's ridiculous.
because it was supposed to be a safe place for women or something. And it just, I mean, whatever you need to feel safe. I don't want to, but it just felt sort of you were watching a show about, two gay men and your gay men friends or want to come watch it with you. And
Never felt unsafe with my
but
gay male
because they're
friends. What even
men.
is that?
Yeah.
Now, one thing I do want to go back to as a comment that you made was the issue of research, because
Mhm.
I am not, I grew up in West Texas. For some reason, we
Yeah.
don't have ice. And that was not something that we had with hockey. But you research, and I think sometimes that is one of the most important things authors can do is go in and do the research that they need to do to make the world livable. Like there was in Goalie and the Geek, there's a situation where I needed to have my goalie dress. I've not dressed in a hockey, locker room, putting all that stuff in. But you know what? There are now videos on YouTube with actual
That's right.
NHL players who walk you through how they dress.
Yeah.
That's
So
awesome.
The
this is
internet is
perfect.
awesome.
I think a problem is if there's a lot of romance in a space, like in fandom, they will copy each other as their research, right?
Mhm.
If you read a lot of romance, that's your research. And it's not necessarily talking to gay men, having gay friends, asking them about sex, asking them about prep, asking them what they use, like none of that, like if you don't know that and you don't know anybody to talk to and you don't do research that way, you're just reading other romance written by other straight women, you might miss things.
Mhm. Well, I'm glad you mentioned the issue of prep, because that is not necessarily one of those things that a lot of I've seen a lot of the authors think about.
Yeah.
That is, now I can guarantee you that's one of those first questions that people have. They want to know, not only are you on prep, but also are you on any of the other drugs that are out there.
Yeah.
And now there's all kinds of different classifications that are helping, and talking about the world of people that actually have HIV and what that actually looks like in a modern context.
Oh
Uh,
yeah, like not writing like it's 1992.
yes,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
This- Ryan White, this is not
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
time period.
Hmm.
Unless you're doing a historic piece, which is kind of scary when you think that 1980s may be considered historic.
Yeah. Yeah. It was 40 years ago. So
Yes,
That's
yes.
no, it wasn't. It was 29 years ago, Jenna.
yeah.
I had
I'm
to
not even gonna tell
admit,
you how old I am.
I had to admit last night, one of my students, I was like, I've never seen SpongeBob. I'm like, and they're like, did you not have a childhood? And I'm like,
Like
when
not
did
when
it
you
come
did.
out? I'm like, it came out in 1999. I was already in graduate school. So
Yeah.
yeah, no, this is not something
Yeah.
that
You were in
was
grad
on
school
my
in 99?
radar.
Oh my
Yeah.
God. I don't
I
want to say
gradu
how old I was
I
in 99.
graduated in 1994 from high school,
Oh
and
wow.
then got my doctorate in 2002. So
Jason, as some of you might know, wrote one of my favorite stories from the first anthology, Moonlight and Margaritas. And your story, Ship Happens, which is a gay enemies to lovers romance featuring a former bully, exploring the theme of adolescent and internalized homophobia. It was one I really, really loved because I don't normally like enemies to lovers. And it was the first time I read an enemies to lovers and was like, I think I might actually like this. Because it explored the idea of them being enemies for reasons that were like really, I don't know, really personal to me. Given when I grew up and when I went to high school and what we dealt with behind the orange curtain in Orange County, I thought that that was really wonderful and revelatory. So I want to know what was coming next in the world of Jason Wrench, and I'm always hoping to see a short story from you with us in another anthology since I loved Ship Happens so much. No pressure.
I'm definitely gonna do another one. I know the last one you were doing was Fae, and I'm like, I'm not a Fae person. I read some romantasy, but it's not, again, I've done a couple shifters, but that's
Yeah.
about the extent of what I've done there. But as for
We have a
ship happen,
sports one coming next year, though.
We
So
do.
well,
We have a
that's
sports one next year.
perfect because I have plenty of covers. Good.
Might have to come raid your cover supply.
I know.
But it was funny because, I liked the idea of when the Moonlight and Margaritas, and I start going, okay, well, what is this going to look like? And you start in your head. And it was fun for me because I start with the theme of the anthology and go, how does that fit? And for me, it was like, oh, where are people drinking lots of margaritas? I'm
I
like,
loved that the margarita was gross in yours. I loved working with
Yeah.
that. Like everyone else was like all these wonderful margaritas, and yours was like, and it was like radioactive decay. It was so good. And it made him ill, and it was the thing that brought him to Leo. I loved that. Like it propelled the plot.
again, thinking about things and turning them in new and unique ways. But again, even for that, I watched a lot of cruise ship videos. I
Mhm.
mean, I've been on cruises when I was younger, but it's been a long time, and they've changed just a little bit since the
Yeah.
last time I was on a cruise ship.
Yeah.
And so just watching people's stories, seeing, and again, there's YouTube videos, there's a whole YouTube video series. All it is this guy who is a ship doctor, and he talks about what it's like to actually be a cruise ship doctor and what his day is like and the stuff that he sees. And so again, that research component, to help ground the characters and different things. And then of course, so for creating that one, that was fun. And I know I told Dara this at one point. So when I was avoiding writing, I did map out the entire ship.
Yes, it's very obvious that you did. Yeah. And
Complete
I
maps.
sympathize with this because I did a novella on a space cruise on the Ring Runner, and I had to map it out as well because I also did a murder mystery on it. And so all the decks are named, and I noticed in yours that you had named all the decks, and I was like, oh no, he mapped it out.
And I always say I never run into writer's block, but writer's procrastination, I am very good at.
Yeah.
I have one. I was working on a cozy mystery, and I had the whole small town. I even have all the logos for each of the shops.
Oh my
Oh my
God.
golly.
Whoa.
Now, see, I
I
think that would be fun. You could create a fandom thing, right? You could have a special thing that has the logos of the shops and a
Mhm.
little, I think J.R. Ward puts out a book that has information like about all the characters and fans love that stuff,
Yeah,
kind of the
Yeah.
behind the
wait to
scenes.
put it in the back. Like that
Yeah.
series also has a resort, and so I
Yeah.
I have the complete resort mapped out and
Yeah.
where
I love it.
everything is.
And
Because
and because you're putting maps in your book, you really could write a
Mm.
romantasy because there's nothing that sets fantasy apart like having a map
Yeah,
in the
Yeah, it's
book.
true. Yeah, you can do it. I do want to encourage you, Jason. Ship Happens. It would make a very good novella. To extend out the emotional journey, especially that like Leo is going on, and like the way he needs to kind of say sorry and make up for what he's done. It would make a very good novella if you ever wanted to expand it out.
I've thought about actually expanding that out into a series. I just haven't, because I mean, there's other characters that even I was seeing when I was writing it that I'm like, oh, that I could go with that one. I could go with that one. And because
Mhm.
it's a cruise ship, there's lots of characters
Yeah.
inherently. And each week they get kind of like the Love Boat, you get a brand new set of
I was
people.
gonna say, it sounds like a love boat.
Yes, yeah, do a whole cruise series. Yeah, I
Yeah.
love the two of them. I thought that was really great. It's the first time I liked an enemies to lovers since Pride and Prejudice, so congratulations.
But again, I also look at them. I don't, what the tropes are, but I also am a big believer of if you have the tropes, figure out how you're going to make them yours so that you're not just doing the same thing and realizing if you're using a trope, you want to fuel them with as much humanity as possible and having that backstory and going, why are they? It's not like they just met the first time and I absolutely hate you.
Hate you.
Let's fall in love.
Just hated his stupid, handsome face and his amazing, glistening chest and his beautiful eyes. I hated them so much.
So I jumped him.
Is it his
I
eyes
jumped his
twinkle?
bones, but I hated every second of it.
Yeah.
That's a lot
Oh
of
my
romantasy right now, unfortunately. Not the entries we are getting. All of the submissions for foes are wonderful. Not you. You're all wonderful. We love you.
Just add some tentacles and you're good.
Oh, it's all but yes. For me, yes, please add
Tentacles, yeah.
space
Yeah.
tentacle.
That makes me think of, what is the show? The Boys?
Yes, the on Amazon.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. I'm not going to talk about that episode. I'll have to put an explicit note on the,
Yes.
but
If you
tentacles,
saw
yeah.
the episode, you know.
Yes.
I was watching it with my mother. She
Oh
was
no.
watching it and I was with her. So she was, yeah, yeah.
There are
Anyway,
those moments when something comes on TV and you're with one of your parents and you're like, I
yeah,
want to crawl into a hole right
yeah,
now.
Oh, yes.
yeah,
Yeah. You're like, please give me death right
yeah.
now.
I got to go to the restroom now. See you in a minute. Well, Jason, you're a communications professor, which makes this a perfect topic because we like to do hot takes around here, just our
Mhm.
thoughts and attitudes or whatever about bookish things. Do you have a favorite and least favorite hot take?
Yes, for me, hot take is always start with the characters. And one of the things that drives me the most crazy, I should not be able to see your writing. If I
Hmm?
see your writing, there's a problem because your writing is getting in the way of the actual story.
Oh,
Oh,
interesting.
oh boy.
Because
Ooh,
I'm a genre fiction person, and if I'm
yeah.
seeing the writing, that's taking me out of the story, and that is a problem. I know that is a controversial hot take for a lot of people.
Yeah. And of course the thing would be, how would a writer recognize, and how do you teach that? It's one of those weird things that I can't teach it to you. I can't,
If you spent
but
30
when
minutes
when
crafting,
I see it, I see it, right?
I was gonna say, well, if you spent 30 minutes crafting that metaphor, probably overdone.
Probably to it. Yeah.
30 minutes
Yeah.
crafting a metaphor. Good God. Who has time for
Yeah.
that?
Yeah.
As for good hot takes, things to do, always start with your characters. You want to have the more realistic the characters are in your own head, the easier it's going to be to write them and to make sure that you're able to distinguish them voice wise.
Yeah.
It's when they're not distinct that you start to fight. Again, going back to the dialogue, sometimes people write and you're like, I should be able to see the character just in the dialogue and know which character is talking. There's sometimes you can't, that happens, just especially in a conversation, but they should be distinct enough that they, again, start to feel real.
Yeah.
And if they're not, that's something you have to think about is, okay, what is preventing that character from being their own independent person?
What about you, Jenna? What are your least favorite and favorite hot takes?
Well, I was going to mention that we were talking to somebody who said they wrote a slow burn. I don't like those.
Oh, I love slow burns are your hot take is that you don't like slow burns?
Yeah.
I like slow burns.
I don't. I mean, at some point, I'm like, come on, let's get to it. Yeah.
Jump his bones. What's really funny is having characters in there be sort of like, are you two fucking yet? Are it
Yeah.
happening?
What is going on here? Yeah. That was my.
My friend Mark always says they're fucking
Yeah. And
in
the
exactly
other
that
thing
voice.
I have, speaking of writing, and particularly writing and adaptation, because I'm reading something now, is being able to recognize the characters from the original. Well, I'm reading The Other Bennett Sister. I'm
Mhm.
listening and reading The Other Bennett Sister. So this is Jane Austen, Mary Bennett from Pride and Prejudice. But I've read other stories of Pride and Prejudice, from Darcy's view or after, or the P.D. James murder at Pemberley or whatever, death at Pemberley.
A Death at Pemberley.
That one in particular, I read it and I was like, I did not see Lizzie or Darcy in that book.
Mm.
And I just sometimes I'm like, maybe some of these things don't do. If or why are you doing it if they're not who we know? Now, in The Other Bennett Sister, what I'm trying to keep my focus on is this is Mary and her experience. And I mean, Mrs. Bennett is mean. Like she's, not in the book, she's sort of this silly, but here she's sort of mean, and I'm sort of like, well, this is Mary's experience of her. She has a situation with Lizzie that is sort of mean. And I still feel like I'm in that world, but sometimes I'm having to say, okay, this is Mary's experience of it, not Lizzie. Lizzie who could look at things with humor, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
Whereas Mary is very much I mean, it's sort of sad. It's really it's a more serious take on what is it like to be the middle child that everybody ignores or is embarrassed by. At one point, Mrs. Bennet is afraid that Mary will make it difficult for the other girls to get married. So that type of thing, you know.
Yeah.
So I guess my hot take there is just when you do an adaptation, being able to recognize the people we've all come to know and love.
Yeah, be true to those characters.
Same
Yeah.
if, if you read Heated Rivalry and you were watching it, do you recognize them on the screen? I
Mhm.
loved Red, White, and Royal Blue. I thought they captured the essence of that book really well when they made the movie. But I've seen some movies where I've Persuasion is one of them with Dakota Johnson. No, that was not Anne Elliot. So anyway, that's my take.
No. My least favorite hot take recently has been like what people think sci-fi romance is. Like
Tentacles?
sorry.
Tentacles?
It's not that it's not that, right? It's not that that's not a thing. And I'm not going to shove those people in the corner. I'm not going to say, I'm not like the furries. I'm not going to say that, right? Like they are my brethren. We love the tentacle people. I'm just going to say that that's not all sci-fi romance is, and it's not the essence of what sci-fi romance is. So like seeing people be sort of like, ew, like it's like the moment you say that you're right sci-fi romance, like it's immediately tentacle erotica. That really bothers me. It's like it'd be like saying all of romantasy is just, like is just fairy fucking. And I think that that would be really rude to say that that's all that it is. It's obviously not. Now,
Or
it's
other
not that
types of
it's not
characters.
that. And like we appreciate the fairy fucking, but it's not all that it is.
Yeah.
And it's not all it
Yeah.
has to be,
Could be
right?
dragon shifter,
It could be
right?
so many things, right? It doesn't even have to be like a monster or an alien, right? Like I have, as you know, Jenna, I've written sci-fi romance in Hawaii with two humans, right? That would like people immediately act like, oh, it's in outer space. Like that's not what sci-fi means, Like sci-fi
Yeah.
can take place on a planet, it doesn't have to have any monsters or aliens in it whatsoever. It's science fiction. We're talking about technology's effects on society. We're
Yeah.
talking about technology's effects on relationships. We could be talking about, like a gestator or something like that, or changes to DNA. There are a lot of ways that a science fiction universe could affect a relationship and could affect the way people fall in love. That is science fiction romance. It could be so many things. It doesn't have to be tentacles. So that's been my big like hot take thing that's been annoying me. And my
But if
favorite
you
hot
want
take.
to,
Science fiction having some of the same struggles that romantic fantasy romance romantasy, we
Yeah,
have all these different terms, and it's sort of like, some of it is high on romance, a little less on fantasy. So some fantasy readers feel like, what, this
yeah,
isn't enough, or it's the opposite, too much
yeah,
fantasy, not enough romance. And I could see sci-fi romance having the same thing. I was
yeah.
really
Same
expecting more,
struggles.
science fiction type stuff,
Hmm.
where others are like, I want more of the romance. And
Yeah, I
because
mean,
it's
like there's an author I really
a
like
lot of
on
words to
Instagram.
write another world, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's an author I really like on Instagram. She calls her stuff fantasy romance, Elizabeth Wheatley, and I don't blame her for saying that. I don't blame her for distancing herself from romantasy because I think there's an expectation in romantasy of a certain kind of story, and she's saying that I'm not that. I have more fantasy in mind, so mine's fantasy romance, and I don't blame her for carving out her niche like that. But there does seem to be a fight in romantasy and fantasy romance of how much fantasy should be in this, and I think that probably sci-fi will go through the same thing, right? It'll go through the same
Yeah.
struggles.
But
Uh,
other things could go for you could write a hockey romance and hardly have a game. I've read mafia romance that hardly has any
Mafia.
violence in it,
right.
right? Like, I mean, um, so all genres sometimes can be light on the thing somebody's expecting, and
A
there's always,
subgenre. Yeah, it just depends on
yeah,
how readers feel about it and how authors feel about it. I feel like if
yeah,
something's sci-fi romance, it should deal with some sci-fi topics and not just use space as a setting, right? Like
right,
I
yeah,
think that it should deal with those topics.
yeah,
I'm not gonna like be like that's not sci-fi romance at all. Like if it uses the setting, but I might say like well, it's not using sci-fi very well,
right,
which is unfortunate.
yeah.
My favorite hot take. I like seeing people just encourage writers to write instead of constantly imposing rules on them. Like even though I was a writing teacher, I have gotten a little bit tired of writing rules, especially instituted by readers, but also by other writers. It feels like gatekeeping. Don't write prologues, don't write epilogues, don't write description, write more description, right? And like putting it out there on Instagram, like if you're not doing this, you need to buy my course, It's like, oh my God, just let people write. Like people have so many reasons for why they write what they write. Like don't tell everybody they have to write in media res in the middle of the action, like maybe they have a reason for having a slow opening. Just let them try. Let them write it the way that they want to write it. And, and like if they ask you to beta read, of course, and you can give them some advice, go for it. But like putting it out on Instagram, just making people feel like they suck the moment they try is terrible. And I feel bad for newer writers running into stuff like that who like already feel like they're terrible before they even get started because they're running into all these rules. Like, oh, maybe I should get rid of my epilogue. Maybe I should not have so much description. Maybe I should just have dialogue. I don't know. Like, leave people alone. Let them write, like enjoy a panoply of different kinds of writing styles and different kinds of stories and enjoy it so that everything isn't the same.
When it's all said and done, write the story that you want to write. Sometimes that story will be commercially viable. Sometimes it's not, and that's okay too.
Yeah, it's still good for you to write, and you might still find some readers. It might not be 100,000 of them, but it might still find its readers. It might still be somebody's favorite story, even if it's just your sister. It's okay. Don't quit your day job necessarily, but write. It's still really good for people.
I don't know if this is a good example, but I know when Diana Gabaldon decided she wanted to write, she determined she had to just write something she knew she would throw away. It was like her practice, her study, how she was going to learn to write. Now, fortunately for her, it turned out to be Outlander. But, I mean, the idea of I'm going to learn how to write by writing. I'm going to figure it out because there's so many things about writing that are what works for me may not work for you. You may not be able to dictate, or you may only be able to dictate. You may write from the middle out. You may write at the end first. You might write out of order. But you have to find what works for you, and you only can figure that out by doing it.
Yeah. I wrote 1,000,000 words of What Remains while I was home with a toddler, and it helped me work out a lot of things, like I was just at home with a toddler, like needing to have some kind of like psychological stimulation, something to get me out of just being here with a toddler all the time, and it helped me work through a lot of things, grief over my father, loss, mental health things, and I'm glad that I wrote it. I love it, and I hope that it finds its readers. It might not be 100,000 people. It might only be 12 people. That's okay. I'm glad that I wrote it.
It's another not good example, but that's how Nora Roberts started, right? She was snowed in, was about to throttle her children and thought maybe I'll write something. And so she wrote,
definitely,
I guess it was Irish. Yeah,
definitely better than throttling your children.
Better than throttling your children. Yeah.
Better than losing your mind, All right, last thing we do around here is what we're reading in our recommendations. What are you reading, Jason?
I am currently reading Playing Dirty, which is the Leighton Yu book 4 by C.E. Ricci. That is what I've been going through. Big surprise, I've been going through a lot of hockey romance series. This is an entire hockey romance book that's has nothing to do with hockey. It's all baseball in this book.
Oh, baseball. Okay.
I have a cover for that. That will probably be, if plan stays on track, that'll be coming out this summer. I'm getting my sports out of my system.
There you go.
I want your cover collection when you pass. Put me in your will.
You need to do like an Olympic series, because how many sports are there in Olympics?
There is a lot of fucking at the Olympics, Jenna. There's a lot. They ran out of condoms. It's happened. This is a thing.
I will write, before I am done, a curling romance.
Yes.
On my list.
That is the most Canadian thing I've ever heard.
I've even talked to a graphic designer already.
Oh my gosh. Will you explain it to me? Because when we were watching this year, I was like, I do not understand how this game, I mean, we get but how the points are earned and I was just like,
I become a curling fan once every 4 years.
Yeah.
Fair enough. That's how I am about ice skating.
I think it has that feeling like all of us go, I think I could throw a rock.
Yeah. I know how to sweep.
That looks a lot more complicated.
It looks exhausting.
Without falling.
Yeah.
Like the momentum that they have to maintain while they're scrubbing, really, and it's keeping them going, but also keeping them going back. And there's obviously a very complex physics equation happening here. It's really
how flexible the people, when they're throwing the rock down the thing, they have
to get way down low.
Yeah, there's a lot more to it.
Yeah.
What are you reading, Jenna?
Well, I'm still reading and listening at the same time to the
And
other Bennett woman. I got slowed down a little bit because I'm ready for it to come out. I'm eager to watch it. And I also read a novella that someone gave me for free when I was at Suffolk. It was a prequel to her series, and it was a woman's fiction. And I
that's
kind
so
of
smart.
enjoyed it, except for because it was a prequel to a woman whose husband left her and
Oh,
her uncle dies and leaves or something. So this whole thing is just watching her husband convince her they should move into a smaller home because the kids are going to get ready to go to college, and she's just been an at-home mom, right, doing her thing. And he like gets her into this dump, and the kids are there, and then he just leaves with the woman, and then her uncle dies and leaves her, and then it's like over. And I was like, I don't know if I like this as a book on its own. A bummer. It ends
yeah.
badly.
I like desperately want you to read Freedom by Jonathan Franzen just so we can complain about it together. Have you read it, Jason? Do you know what I'm talking about?
No, but I love the idea. I want you to hate binge this.
I
Yeah,
know I do this all the time. I gave my friend white noise and I was like, I need you to read this to suffer with me, please.
yeah. I
That's how
don't
I
like
feel about Freedom.
reading
That what
is
should be on the cover of that book for
Read this with your
advertising.
friends to suffer together.
suffer
Yeah, it'll
together.
trauma
No,
bond you.
no. What are you reading, Tara?
Well, the things I've been looking forward to every week. I'm looking forward to, I read Eva Leclerc's Shadow Betrayal. That's been fun. And I've been reading Parrish's Ernest Semper, excuse me. Case of the Engagement Party, a Dardenne Fennec mystery in Iphigenia world, which I really love. And I've also been reading his new novel, which is Lion of the Garden, which is like I mean, you can call it sci-fi romance. It's very like Ice Planet barbarians. It's got the clone Rados in it, who's like gigantic, like seven
The
feet
blue
tall
guy.
and blue, and I'm loving it. If it doesn't become the next Ice Planet barbarians, there is no justice in the world, and I will stick by that. I will defend that to the death. I'm really loving it. I highly recommend it. Do you follow Erna on Substack, Jason?
No.
Erna is one of your fellow authors in Moonlight and Margaritas.
Mhm.
It's actually Parrish Baker, but just like this like really cool kind of like fantasy sci-fi world, like a planet that humans have gone to sort of on a decade ship and have like established a life on and like have terraformed to some degree, and like their society is sort of like being almost kind of bombed itself back to the Stone Age. They haven't really bombed themselves, but they are very like they're a very sexist society, very controlled, very hierarchical society. And he sort of writes about like love stories within that, how people can find happiness within a lot of like all of these strictures. And there are like clone servants and clone minors, called lambdas. And in the Thessaly Affair, his last novel, one of the lambdas got free with the main party. I was so into this lambda. I was so excited. I was like, Rados, I love him. And then he like generated a picture of like what Rados looked like just for fun and sent it to me. And he was like, say it, say it. And I'm like, well, that is a romantic lead, sir. I don't know what to tell you. I think you have to write a novel about him. And that's where we're at.
Yeah,
I
he
mean,
could be a hockey player. I mean, he's built and buff, but he's also blue.
He would kill everyone. He's so huge. He like bats lions out of the way with
Yeah,
one
it's like
hand. He's
Hulk, only
gigantic.
blue.
Yes.
Right? Like,
I adore Rados. He's the best.
oh,
kind of reminds me of the movie AI with Gigolo, was it Gigolo Joe or Gigolo Jim that Jude Law played? Yeah, like that. I'm not waiting for a clone. I am waiting for my happy butler robot, though. Cooks, clean, does the laundry, maybe goes
yeah,
outside and mows the lawn.
Yeah,
yeah.
that's all the clones in Erna's world. I mean, follow Erna Semper on Substack if you have a Substack or something like that. Like Parrish is publishing stuff every week that you can read for free, and it's all really good.
Yeah,
Wow.
in the JD Robb books, they have droid servants.
Hmm.
Some people have droid servants, and they also have the auto chef, which is really what I want one of those. In my mind, it looks like a microwave, but it acts like a vending machine. Like you can just say, I want a burger, and a burger shows up. You
Oh, it's like
know?
the
Star
replicators
Trek.
from Star Trek. Yeah,
Yeah,
Earl
yeah.
Grey hot.
Oh, yeah. So
My
I
favorite thing is actually in Fifth Element when they have these like little sprinkles they put in this bowl, and it's like the roast chicken sprinkles. They put them in the big bowl, they put the bowl in the microwave, and it just rehydrates them into a giant roast chicken. And
yeah.
that Lilu goes and she goes like chicken, good, and like pulls the chicken out. I love that. No one explains anything. It's just there, and it is hilarious.
All right.
Thank you so much for being here with us, Jason. We really
Yes.
appreciate it. You're wonderful. We hope you'll join us again, not only on the podcast, but also in anthologies and, just tell us what you're working on and keep us updated. And as always, we are Tender and Tempting Tales. We're Tender and Tempting Tales on Substack. You can find us there. We've got great articles and, of course, podcast episodes every week. You can also find us on Instagram. That's Tender Tempting Tales on Instagram. You can find us on Facebook. We have the Tender and Tempting Tales reader group and author group. Become one of our authors. We are there. We have a call open right now. That is Fantastical Foes. By the time by the time you hear this podcast, that will probably be closed and will probably be open for Starlit and Spellbound. That's our next anthology coming out in the fall. We want otherworldly stories of 10,000 words or less with 3 chili peppers, and of course it's got to have a little bit of like a fall vibe, and it's got to have just a little bit of like an otherworldly era to it. Something like time travel or nanites or magic, something supernatural, whatever whatever sparks your imagination. Do that. Jenna?
Jason, I do want to thank you very much. I really enjoyed chatting with you today.
It's been quite enjoyable.
And I second Tara that I hope that you will come back and write with us again too, because we love Ship Happens and everybody needs to go get moonlight and margaritas. It's the perfect time. Summer's coming. You need to get a good margarita and enjoy Ship Happens. And until next time, just wishing you peace, love, and happily ever after.